With me is the Deputy Foreign Minister of Poland. So, welcome to WION. It's great to meet you here in Delhi. My first question to you is about the India Poland relationship. How do you see this relationship going forward? We saw the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi traveling to Poland last year, which was seen as a significant visit.
Well, it was a historic visit. We signed a strategic partnership and also an action plan, which we are now going to implement over the next 5 years. We have planning a meeting of our military. The Indian military is coming to Warsaw for consultations. Also, the industry group is going to meet, and we have various plans to cooperate in many spheres of political and economic and military security. So yeah, that visit was absolutely historic. I had the pleasure of accompanying the Prime Minister at many occasions in Warsaw, and the end result is it's my third visit here in Delhi and fourth visit in India, and I'm coming back again probably twice this year. So yes, and we expect a number of Polish ministers coming here. The Deputy Prime Minister is coming in a month, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs is expected sometime later this year, and we are waiting for a couple of other, hopefully, Prime Minister Modi invited our Prime Minister and our President to visit, so the relationship is heating up.
The relationship is heating up. It is becoming a very substantive relationship. You made an important point when it comes to the war in Ukraine. You said that the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi was able to stop the nuclear conflict, persuade the Russian president. If you can perhaps elaborate on that.
Well, let's not exaggerate. What happened is that faced with the threat of tactical nuclear strike by Russian Federation on Ukraine, Americans first said it would be very serious retaliation if you do that. And that was a very strong message. Then President Xi Jinping of China called Putin and talked to him. And then, as far as we know, Prime Minister Modi also called Putin to try to dissuade him. But it was a more complex action. It was all of these elements contributed to the fact that Putin decided not to use nuclear weapons because Prime Minister Modi is against the use of nuclear weapons, but so is Xi Jinping of China. So this was a joint effort, I would say, unusual joint Chinese-Indian effort.
A joint Chinese-Indian effort, which is significant if you look at the relationship, though the relationship is now going in a positive trajectory. But essentially, sir, if you can perhaps talk about how do you see India's role in the war, in bringing peace to Ukraine? The Indian Prime Minister has been to Kyiv. The Indian Prime Minister has been to Moscow as well, engaged with both sides. So how do you see the Indian role in bringing peace to Ukraine and to the wider European region? Because you're directly impacted by the war in Ukraine.
Well, the only person who can single-handedly stop the war in Ukraine is President Putin, because it's his forces who invaded Ukraine and his forces which occupy 20% of the country. So if anybody can persuade Putin to withdraw his forces, and Prime Minister Modi is one of the few people who probably can talk to him about this matter, then yes, it will be a very positive role.
Coming back to India-Poland relationship, what's your view about not only the increased Indian engagement in Poland, but the sectors? You talked about the defense sector. Recently, India appointed a DA as well, a defense attaché in Poland. So if you can perhaps talk about the defense aspect of India-Poland relationship.
Well, we are talking, and that's why we're expecting Indian Defense, the military group, to come and talk to us in Poland in the very near future. We are talking potentially about selling some weapons to India. We are talking about servicing some of the Indian weapons, which are ex-Russian weapons or old Russian weapons, which we are very familiar with. We are talking about some collaboration. We are talking about collaboration in defense aspects which are not kinetic, like cyber security, but otherwise we're talking about cooperation in mining, we're talking cooperation in green technology. Now our company, one of our private companies, is involved in water purification in Mumbai already. I mean, we've got an interest in IT. India is very strong in the sector. You produce 9% of your GDP from the IT sector, but we're producing 7%. We have Indian companies involved in investing in Poland in this sector. We're happy to cooperate with that. We are already cooperating in space technology. We are sending Indian and Polish astronauts into space soon. So it's a very unusual combination. So yes, we are open to talk about cooperation in the food processing and many other things. So yes, it's many things are on the table. We are discussing it.
So let me talk about the international aspect. So far we have talked the international aspect, the war in Ukraine through the India lens. Let's talk about the war in Ukraine through a Polish lens, through a European lens. What do you see of the situation panning out? There have been talks of a ceasefire. We have seen talks between Moscow and US and Ukraine. The President of the United States, Donald Trump, and President of Russia are expected to hold talks as well. So what do you make of the situation? Are you hopeful of peace coming to Ukraine? What's your view of the ceasefire in Ukraine?
Well, the view of ceasefire is very simple. The Americans talk to Ukraine and said, you should agree to ceasefire. Ukrainian president says, yes, I do agree to ceasefire without conditions. President Putin says, no, I won't agree without conditions. I want conditions which basically are quite outrageous, and it could be discussed during peace negotiations. But to give everything up as a precondition of ceasefire is it's completely unacceptable. So the Europeans, and we are united in that, are going to support Ukraine war effort for as long as it takes until there is a proper just peace where Ukraine becomes again a sovereign independent state. We do not believe in changing borders by force, and neither does India, for that matter. You fought wars to make sure your borders are not changed. And this is our European view, and we are going to support Ukraine militarily, economically, and in any other way until the just peace is signed. But for the time being, we don't see it. Ukrainians agreed to a ceasefire. Russians did not agree to a ceasefire.
So my last question to you is ending on a very positive cultural note. The good Maharaja, that has been the living symbol in many ways today of India-Poland relationship. The Prime Minister paid homage to the good Maharaja during his visit. How do you see this story continuing and being a bedrock of the relationship?
Well, it's a great story. I had a privilege to accompany the Prime Minister when he was visiting the square of Great Maharaja and the monuments, and Prime Minister also went to commemorate the children who were rescued and who lived here, and we managed to find two of them who saw in 1947 as children the Indian flag being put up on a mast as a sign of independence. And Prime Minister was very moved by that because he thought it was a great story. And its story is very much alive in Poland, and I gather also in India. So we are building for the future, but we don't forget our past.
Well, on that note, thank you so much, sir. It's pleasure speaking to you. Last time it was Warsaw, this time it's in New Delhi. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much, and see you again in Warsaw.
Thank you so much, sir, for inviting me. With video journalist Sidhant Sibal for WION in New Delhi.